Kojo tugs the knot tight and lifts a bundle of firewood onto his head. Since his father died, he's had to quit school and help his mother collect wood to sell at the market. It's his last load of the day, and he is tired and hungry. Now, Kojo and his mother live in a mud-walled house with an open fire for cooking. Beside it is a garden where they grow their own food. They never have much money or much to eat. As Kojo nears his house, he can smell his mother's fufu cooking, their main meal made from cassava and yams. He begins to walk faster. Now, Kojo and his mother live in the Ashanti region of Ghana. And none of the 20 families in their village have much money, but they do have a good idea. Their idea is that each family will save a bit of money so that one family can borrow it to buy something important. The first family to borrow the money, the Achempong family, their idea is to buy a cartload of fruit that they can sell piece by piece at the market for a profit. When they repay the loan, the Dodo family borrows the money, and their idea is to buy a second-hand sewing machine so they can turn the cloth they weave into shirts and dresses to sell. Finally, it is Kojo's mother's turn. She has a good idea, too. She wants to buy a cart so she can transport more wood to market and perhaps rent it to others who need transport. There are a few coins left over, and Kojo asks if he can have them because he has a good idea, too. Now, Kojo's good idea, as the story promises, is to buy a hen that will lay eggs at the market that he can sell, to buy more hens, to lay more eggs, to buy more hens. And so, as he does this, he ends up growing the largest poultry farm in his country. And this story is based on the true story of Kwabena, who is in fact the largest poultry farmer in Ghana and who started as a petty trader helping his widowed mother make ends meet, but who, as he grew this farm, chicken by chicken, actually created not only success for himself, but success and opportunity for others through employment, through a town that grew around his farm, and through the taxes they paid that helped his country grow in infrastructure. So it's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful story about a value of success that is really shared success. But the story I'm going to talk about today is actually the story behind this story and beyond this story. And it starts, as David hinted, about 7 years ago when I reached what I'll call the age of dissatisfaction. And I called my publisher and I said, I'd really like to do something important with my children's writing. I'd like to engineer a positive midlife crisis. And she said, well, why don't you reach back into what you used to do and find something there for kids that might bring real value. And she knew I'd been an international aid worker in my 20s and my early 30s. And so what I internalized is she was telling me if I'm looking for renewal, I should focus on the not the new. And there's a lot of really great things that we can focus on to redefine ourselves, to regenerate. And as we re-energize, hopefully we're also re-energizing others and society around us. So I did reach back. I reached back to a time when I was working with kids in Brazil who were the best recyclers I'd ever met, with women in Peru who, with very few resources, formed community kitchens, and so they were able to nourish their children and care for each other, and to women in West Africa who formed savings clubs, much like that I've described in the story. And as I thought about those different stories, it seemed to me that this story of the savings club, the story of microfinance, was really a wonderful window into poverty alleviation for children, because anyone who'd had a lemonade stand could get it. And so, like any good birder, I thought about where I might find this story. And a good birder will tell you the way you have a rare sighting is that you think about where it could happen and then you recognize the pattern. So I went to a microfinance conference. And when I heard Kwabena speak, I thought, this is the story that I want to use as the basis for my book. And so I pulled his bio, and he had, in fact, started as a petty trader, helping his mother. And so I wrote the story, One Hen. And it felt very good sending it off to the illustrator, and I actually felt like I had achieved some satisfaction. But someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, you should not be satisfied. Because if you're really trying to reach kids, you need to reach them on the internet, not on a bookshelf, but on the web. And I thought, that's a good point. So I registered onehen.org. But then I thought, how am I going to build this website? How am I going to reach kids with this? And that's when I like to say this story of me moved to a story more of us. And it's really the test of any idea as to whether natural partners gather around it. And in fact, what happened was a flock began to form around this idea. And there was a guy I coached soccer with who worked for a web development firm. And sure enough, his colleagues said they'd love to help develop code for the site. And colleagues at work said they'd be very interested in helping create content for this site. And 25 children in our neighborhood said they would love to be the focus group and help think about what games would make sense for the site. So little by little, we gathered this flock, and like any good flock of geese, we took off flying and rotating leadership as different skills were needed at the fore. And within about 4 months, we actually had a website, onehen.org. And it was a site that had games at the center, and does have games at the center, because we wanted to meet kids where they enjoyed being on the internet, which was often in the game space. But these were games that let them actually learn about microfinance through participation. So they would win beads and take these beads to a virtual entrepreneurs market, invest them, and actually generate real loans to real entrepreneurs in Africa, because one of our flock was Opportunity International, and they helped and became our field partner to create real loans based on the activity on the site. So this was all very exciting, and then I was feeling very satisfied when the phone rang and a principal just down the road in Canton called and said, we just got a grant to turn your book and website into 4th grade curriculum across science and language arts and social studies, and we really could use your help making all this work. And I thought, wow. And then I got another call from another school, and it dawned on me we had launched this site right into the financial crisis of 2008. And a lot of teachers were looking for resources to teach financial literacy, financial responsibility at a much younger age. And financial responsibility defined in a way where it includes not only personal success, but sharing that success with others. And so this set of resources was actually really perfect for that cause. But it was a big ask, having lots of schools calling. So I reassembled the flock, and these are just the female members of the flock. There were male members as well, but asked if they would be willing to help out with these schools, and they said yes. We had many volunteers that said they wanted to stay the course, and so then we entered this phase I like to think of as the phase of where we started co-creating lesson plans alongside teachers, going into classrooms, coordinating conversations between teachers in the US, in Canada, in the United Kingdom, who were all using the resources and helping them share ideas, and essentially coalescing an educator movement. And it was very exciting. It was very exciting to be frontline, watching kids learn and grow and really change their attitudes and understand that they could create value by creating things people really needed and wanted. But it also, we started to wonder what was really at stake here, and there was a couple numbers that galvanized us. One number was an estimate of the savings we could create for society if we could nudge the dropout rate, just say 0.5%, because we were starting to work a lot in inner city schools with disadvantaged communities. And we thought, gee, if we could create an entrepreneurial vision for kids that could get them through those years where gangs were saying, there's no future, or the opportunity that they saw before them was perhaps to sell drugs, or there was no history of employment in their family, so they had no sense of what the future could hold. If we could actually inculcate in them early that they could create something, that they could create their future and have an entrepreneurial vision, by some estimate, if we could nudge that 0.5% dropout rate, then we could save society $2 to $4 billion. But another number was also galvanizing, and this was the number around the pocket money market for kids aged 4 to 12 in our country. And that number was $50 billion. I'm going to say that again, $50 billion. And influencing about $650 billion of parental spending. So we thought if we could take just 0.5% of that and influence it toward creating microloans to help others versus buying iTunes or candy or video games, the products that people who actually watch this number very carefully sell, we could transform the lives of millions. And so with that sense, we started to watch what was happening on the website. And sure enough, we saw kids blogging on the site that they were indeed starting businesses. And they were using their proceeds to help others. And in the classroom, we saw that as kids started these businesses, they were writing checks to local charities, to Opportunity International, one of our field partners. And so we saw that this seemed to really be working, but we also saw something else. It was that the movement was getting really too big for a band of volunteers to keep their arms around. And we really needed some structure if we wanted to help this move forward. And at that point, I like to say a miracle happened, and I'm going to introduce you to her, Amma Sefa-Dedeh.
Thank you, Katie. My name is Amma Sefa-Dedeh, and I'm Executive Director of One Hen, Inc. I'm also from Ghana, where the One Hen story is set. And many of you will know that Ghana is in West Africa. What you don't know is that, what you may not know is that Ghana is in the geographic center of the earth. So the Greenwich Meridian and the equator pass right through it. So I'm from the center of the world. But the way I connect to the One Hen story really starts with three of my passions. The first one is children. I love spending time with children. And in Ghana, I volunteered for and run large Sunday school programs. The second passion is empowering others with skills to succeed. And a group of friends and I set up a nonprofit in Ghana that did just that. It's now spread to other West African countries. And the third passion is entrepreneurship. I love startups. Right out of college, I started my very first company. It was a conference organizing and printing company. And it's entrepreneurship that brought me to the US. I really wanted that company to scale, and so I enrolled in a course at Babson College. It's the best place to learn about entrepreneurship. And at Babson, I volunteered to teach a Sunday school class because I wanted to spend more time with kids. And I met Katie, who also taught in that same Sunday school program. She had just written her book, One Hen. It was set in Ghana. She was recruiting volunteers, and I signed up immediately. And I signed up not just because it's a cool story about an entrepreneur, but because I saw in that story, in Kojo's story, an opportunity to help kids see that that could be their story. That just like him, with a big dream, with a small step, with hard work, with reaching out to others for help, that they could build success for themselves. And that more than that, they could build success that's transcended themselves and spilled out to their family, to their community, to a country, and maybe even to the whole world. And so we registered One Hen, Inc. Our mission is to empower kids to be social entrepreneurs. And we think that means making a difference not just for yourself, but also for the world. And one of the very first things that we did as an organization is to create a model of what this kind of program looked like. Katie already told you about what was happening with the book and the website. And so we reached back to those educators who are already innovating with our resources to help us develop a model. And with the school in Canton and with a national after-school program called Bell National, we created a program and tested it in Boston with 100 kids. You can see 2 of the teachers and 2 of the kids who were part of that program. The kids learned from the One Hen story those big lessons I talked about having a dream and a vision and a plan and hard work. But we wanted to take the learning from the theoretical to the practical. So we gave the kids a $10 loan to start a real business. They had to create a product. They had to develop marketing collateral. They had to sell the product and make a profit and pay back that loan, that $10 loan, with interest. And one of the learning from the program, the kids hated paying back the interest. It was the best lesson in credit and personal financial management we could ever have given them. They got it. And we learned many things that summer. In that picture, you can see one of the business teams. It was a 3rd grade class. They were the youngest kids in the program. And one of the problems that they had was that they weren't getting many customers to visit their stall. And so they came up with a brilliant idea. In the program, the kids were helped to create a poster and a marketing jingle and think about a marketing message. And they decided they were going to make flyers. And so they designed a flyer, and they went to Sweet Talk, somebody at the photocopy office, to photocopy the flyers for them. And when the market opened, they stood at the door of the cafeteria, which was the marketplace, and handed out flyers to parents as they came to pick up their kids and guided the parents sweetly to their stall. And that's how they solved the problem of getting customers for their business. And there were many other lessons that we saw the kids learning, working together well in a team, and making decisions. And the results of that program were just deeply inspiring. We saw a doubling in the kids' business math comprehension. We had 85% of the kids at the end of the program feeling confident that they could start and run a business because they had just done it. We saw a fivefold increase in the kids' desire to give back their profits to help others in need. And so we had a model that worked, and we wanted to scale this model and the general idea across schools in the US and in other places. So we reached back to our partners with Bell National, whom I talked about, and with networks of charter schools, and they allowed us to scale from 100 kids in Boston in 2009 to over 2,000 kids in 6 cities in 2010. And we were just amazed at the transformation. But you know something? This is just the tip of the iceberg. The thing that really inspires me is the teachers in over 142 countries who come to the One Hen website, download materials, and have run programs that impact over 19,000 kids. Every week we get emails from teachers all over the world. There's a teacher in Dubai whose students learned the key lessons from the One Hen story, were inspired, and have started a microfinance program in Bangladesh, helping other kids start businesses and giving them loans. There's a teacher in Uganda who is using the One Hen story as an anchor, not just to teach kids, life skills about confidence, but also to teach them agricultural skills, because her kids really identify with Kojo. And so I think the real impact, we're yet to see even more impact. On that map, you can see all the places shaded in green are the places where we have an educator running a One Hen program. And these programs are not connected. The current site was built around games, and the teachers are not connecting with each other. The students are not connecting with each other. I think that's the real opportunity, getting these innovative teachers talking, sharing, helping each other to build value in their communities. And that's the project that we're rallying a flock around right now. And we're really excited to see this phase of our organization. But what this journey has taught me is that, Kojo's story is truly inspiring to get kids excited about succeeding in life. But I don't think it's just a kid's story. Because I think in that story, in that basic story of a good idea, hard work, taking a step forward, reaching out to others for help, is the basic human story. That's why it's resonated with so many people across cultures, across continents. It's that basic human story. And the thing that I have learned from him is that the thing that is needed to scale a business is faith in that story, that it will work out. And so I like to end by asking, where are you in that story right now? And how can you use the faith to hatch dreams? Thank you.